And I'm not.
Well, hello there, fam. Welcome, welcome, welcome to You Plant, We Water. I am your host, Dr. Toya Flowers, licensed professional counselor with a PhD in counseling. I'm also a professor of, you guessed it, counseling, and I have a specialization in marriage, couples, and family counseling. And here on this corner of the world, on this show in particular, we are focused on bringing together our faith, our mental health, and our relationships to talk about topics and things that will help us to have the happy, healthy, thriving relationships that God actually wants for us. And we've been on this journey for a bit, so we've got all kinds of content on all kinds of topics related to couples, relationships, even parent child relationships, relationships with ourselves, you name it. So I'm just so grateful that you are here to join me on today. I've got a hot topic for you all. I think you're going to love it. Today, we are talking about love and the N word, narcissist. Ah, yes, yes, and yes. I get so many questions about narcissism. So many of the couples that I work with, there's a concern that possibly one of the partners is a narcissist. And it's a buzzword, right? You hear about it all the time. And it's a buzzword that is tricky to decipher. But it is important that we learn how to decipher it because being in close relationship with a narcissist is incredibly dangerous for you as an individual. So if we can figure out what is narcissism and what's not, we're going a long way. But what I love even more is that this topic came out in a popular reality show several seasons back. I just came across it recently in my personal feed, but it highlights someone who the show itself alleged was a narcissist, and it gives us some examples of what it looks like in relationships. So should make for a juicy show today. Before we dive in, though, you know I would be remiss if I didn't mention our first annual Her Women's Conference is well in the works. Her standing for healing, exhortation, and restoration. You all, I'm so excited for this, you guys. We've got our marketing materials out. You can scan this QR code to register. We also have an event right now. There is a Facebook page, and I will have a flyer for you to review on our next show. But we have 6 absolutely dynamic speakers. Myself, Dr. Toya Flowers, Dr. Amber Gardner, Dr. Sydney Morris, our very own Latrice Morris from It's Time to Shine, Evangelist Natalie Haynes, and Pastor Pamela Johnson. And we are going to be talking about all kinds of things. This is an experience for women to come together and be poured into to recharge your battery so that you can begin to walk in the calling that God has for you. We're going to talk about when the strong woman gets tired, faith after disappointment, emotional burnout, and how to decipher what is God calling you to, and so much more. There's going to be giveaways. We have a phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal coordinator, Mrs. Andrea Smith. And so this thing is coming together, you all. And it is 100% free, no charge. We did not want financial burden or worry to be a barrier to any woman who wanted to come out and pamper herself with the gift that keeps on giving. So please visit the You Plant We Water Facebook page for more information. Look us up on Eventbrite. Can't wait to see you there. All right, you all, back to the topic. Love and the N-word, narcissist. So, as I alluded to at the start, narcissism is a term that is thrown around so often, and because beautifully, the awareness about narcissism has greatly increased, I would say, over the last maybe 10 years or so. It used to be something that people were unaware of. It was still just as dangerous. There was still such a thing as narcissistic abuse, and that is when the person in close relationship with a narcissist suffers the consequences and the hurt and the pain. And it literally can be a soul depleting experience being with coupled or partnered, or even if it's a parent or something, close friend with a narcissist. Having said that, anytime the awareness about something increases, the term kind of gets thrown around a little bit too loosely. And narcissism is not, just because you were involved in a romantic relationship and maybe that person broke your heart. Fortunately, that's not necessarily narcissism. Even if they were very cruel in the way that they did it, that's still not necessarily narcissism, though it could be if they were cheating or lying, although that doesn't necessarily make a narcissist. But we are going to take a look at what it does look like in relationships through these couple of examples we have. We're going to explore the clinical definition and then just give you some insights on how to figure out if you have been or are in this type of relationship dynamic. So if we are ready, I would love to cue up our first tape, or not tape. Y'all, that shows you I was born a long time ago. I called it a tape. Our first clip. And what we have is a clip from a popular reality show called Married at First Sight, right? And what they do is various psychological experts and things like that. They do profiles on individuals and then they partner them with another individual whom they don't just have a blind date with. No, they actually marry them at their first meeting. And then the show tracks that marriage and relationship. Well, during one of the seasons, there was a couple that was put together. The gentleman's name is Chris. The lady's name is Paige. And during that season, some of the experts alleged that Chris was I think they said, classic or over-the-top narcissist, right? Now, what we can see, I don't know Chris personally, so I would never diagnose him, but what I can show you are some typical relationship patterns and traits that Chris does exhibit during the show that are in alignment with narcissism. But we'll take it with a grain of salt, I think that is, or whatever it is, because we know that these shows are edited and things like that. Having said that, let me see, what else do I want you all to know about Chris? Let's just show the first clip and then I'll share some insights and give you my professional opinion from the petty professional and prophetic. All right, are we ready? Do we have it queued?
And I'm not being disrespectful here, but there's so many beautiful, Black queens, white queens, Hispanic queens here in the city of Atlanta, and I just feel like it shouldn't be hard to find somebody that's, because I'm not that picky. But no,
Chris,
but
you're not that picky.
Y'all, out of all the millions of women here, y'all picked the one that was just like,
No, I'm not gonna take that. No, that is not true. That is so not true. It's just not. It's just not.
I'm talking about for what I like, and
look,
because it's my wife.
When I talked to you, I asked you. You remember we had this conversation?
Yeah, I said I was open.
So then, what are we supposed to do?
You guys are responsible. It shouldn't be that difficult to find somebody that I should be, even if
you wanted somebody to be a power couple. You wanted someone where you guys walk into a room and you could work a room.
Yeah, but you have to be attracted to the person, though.
In every other area, she was qualified. It's just that you didn't like her face.
Yes, sir.
Oh, man. Okay. Yeah, man. I look, Chris, attraction has to be more than physical. If you're truly looking for a marriage, then you need to be focused on shared values and you have to let attraction grow.
That's what I did, though.
Dude, you did not.
I did
No, you
it.
did not. You never gave your marriage a chance to grow in love. You never gave your marriage a chance to become attracted to her. Chris, I want the best for you. I want the best for her, man. But I know that this has been very painful for her. And I want you to seriously consider how you handle relationships. Because this ain't even about you and Paige anymore. Because you've been engaged a couple times. And neither of them have come to fruition. And now you're married, and that's not working, okay? So your next decisions have to be well thought out. They have to be serious. You have to look at this and say to yourself, what am I learning from this? You understand what I'm saying? Because I don't feel as you though this is not your finest hour here. Would you? What you think it is? This is not the best. This has not been.
Finest hour.
No, this has not been your finest hour.
But given the circumstances, I can leave this process knowing that I handled it to the best of my ability. Could I have done things certainly differently? 100%.
But you can't to the best of your ability. What does that mean, man?
The best that I possibly could have.
Chris, you're married and you just bought a car for your ex. Is that doing things the very best you could?
I told her, I said, you could have came with us.
How in the heck is she gonna come with you and your ex-fiance to buy her a Mercedes while you're married to her? How does that make sense? Well, what the heck was she gonna do tagging along to buy a car?
I mean, yeah. That was on her.
Okay, what you're doing now is you're showing me how little you care about her feelings.
That's not true. You can't expect me to say, hey, I'm going to apologize for buying Mercedes, because I can't. Like, I've worked hard to ensure that my kids came in with an inheritance. So I'm already, hey, yo, I need to buy you a house too.
Dude, I mean, those impulsive decisions, I believe, is what got you screwed up in the first place.
I'm just excited about the pregnancy.
Well, that's fine, but
that's all I have to do.
That's cool. Be excited about it, but that don't mean you got to go buy them the world before the baby's born, especially when you're still married to somebody else. I know what. It doesn't sound right. Right?
I don't know. I just don't know where this is going. Like, as far as the conversation, because I just feel like I've been straight up and I just want to be done with it.
And you are. I'm just trying to create some closure here. Don't you think you owe Paige at least an apology for what you put her through?
I can't apologize to her for that.
Okay.
I can't.
First clip there. Okay. So what we saw there was a little bit of the lack of empathy. And remember, empathy means the ability to put ourselves in someone else's shoes and try to imagine what it's like to be them, which typically prevents us from doing something that's incredibly hurtful or harmful to them. But we got to see a little bit of that lack of empathy. They were describing the relationship, which I'm going to highlight a little bit more. Inability to apologize, right? He was like, no, why would I apologize? And the difficulty in receiving correction. Those who truly struggle with narcissism have a very difficult time being accountable. And if you offer correction or what they perceive as criticism in any kind of way, that wall goes up, right? So a little background on the relationship with Chris and Paige. As we know, they were married on this show, Married at First Sight. Upon first seeing her, she was not to his standards. He did not find her to be as attractive as what he was used to. One of his quotes was he was looking for a trophy and didn't feel that she was a trophy. And some of that kind of lines up. It's okay. We all have things that we're attracted to, but kind of that that superiority expectation is in alignment with narcissism. But beyond that, even knowing that he did not find her attractive, he proceeded to continue with the marriage, to consummate the marriage, and to really use and manipulate this woman for her body, knowing that he really was not interested in her. He then later shared with her that he was engaged to another woman who he felt was a trophy and far more attractive than his then current wife, and that he had been engaged to this woman just less than 2 months before marrying her and coming to the show. What we found out is that he actually was still engaged with this woman throughout the duration. Literally, he was engaged to one woman and then married another woman. Those are some big narcissism red flags. It shows a lack of empathy for either person. He then also lets her know that his fiance is pregnant and going to have a baby. So devastation upon devastation for this young woman who's married to him on the show. The pastor there was speaking with him and trying to hold him accountable for the manipulation and the games that he was playing with this young lady. A lot of hot and cold, breaking up with her, getting back with her, breaking up with her, getting back with her. All signs of a narcissist. But sadly, another thing he did was, while married to Paige on the show, he bought his ex-fiance a brand new Mercedes. And that's what they were talking about when he was just kind of, when called on it, he was like, if my wife went to come, she could have came. You know, that kind of disregard, that cruelness, that coldness, those are some of the things we see in narcissistic relationships. Red flags are things to look for if you're wondering, could I be in relationship with a narcissist? One, there's a superiority, right? The grandioseness, right? They tend to feel that there's something incredibly special about themselves, which is great. We all want to have a good, healthy self-esteem, but they tend to put themselves on a pedestal and others underneath. They can be very prone to cheating, right? Because honestly, if you think that you are, in the petty way, all that in a bag of chips, how could one person be good enough for you, right? Or they might have a series of relationships because a narcissist at their core is struggling with insecurity. And so they will go after these trophies and then become quickly disillusioned if the person doesn't live up to their expectations that they had in their mind, or if the person seems to overshadow them, right? So they can either be too good or not good enough. Either way, the narcissist will not be satisfied and will typically cheat. They tend to have a series of failed relationships. As we heard, Chrissy had been engaged numerous times and now a failed marriage. So you might see that pattern, multiple failed relationships. A lack of empathy, which we've already talked about, meaning not really, because of that lack of empathy, that ability to man, I wonder what it's like to be this person. I bet they're really hurting. Because of that lack of empathy, they tend to be manipulative, or they may use others, right, for their gain, right? If you've got something that could benefit them, they might use or exploit another person for it. There'll be a lot of hot and cold, push and pull, I love you, I hate you kind of dynamic. We tend to see a lot of gaslighting. Gaslighting is when someone tries to convince you that the reality is not the reality, right? So I have these flowers here. If I were going to gaslight you, I would say, these flowers aren't there. And you would say, I can see the flowers. Now, if it's just me and you, and I keep telling you, they're not there, I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know how you're seeing flowers, because there's definitely not any flowers there. That is psychological abuse, and it can make you begin to question your own sanity when that person knows that they are manipulating, right? So those are some of the things that they showed us just a little glimpse of in that clip. If you really want to see how it fully plays out, I encourage you to check out that episode. I got my trusty DSM-5, right? This is how we as therapists and licensed professionals provide diagnoses to people when we are working with them. And I'm going to tell you, narcissism is incredibly hard to give a diagnosis to someone. And I'm going to tell you why. The narcissist is very unlikely to ever seek counseling because they don't think they have any problems, right? So it's unlikely that they're going to come in and see you for individual counseling. They will end up in couples counseling, right? If they are willing to appease their partner and come in. But when they show up to couples counseling, they are going to show up as charming, highly friendly, and likable because the narcissist they usually have a lot of people who love and adore them because they can put a face on that is just like they are that guy, right? Or that girl, just super lovable. And they are. They typically don't show this. They typically only show this other side to those who are closest to them. So what happens in the therapy room is the therapist is charmed and doesn't realize some of these manipulative, hurtful things that are going on behind the scenes. Not only did I come across this clips recently, which I was like, oh, what a great example, but I happen to be working with a couple currently. Though we have been working together for about 4 months, I was just able to give the wife an assessment. There are surveys and things that you can take to see, are you with a narcissist? And I gave her one of those without telling her what it was about. And it came out clear as day that she is indeed married to someone who likely has narcissistic personality disorder. But again, it took 4 months for me to be able to even get a hint that, we might be dealing with this. Now, why am I saying as I look this up and tell you some of the criteria for narcissism? Sadly, if you are with someone who has a personality disorder, personality disorders rarely ever change, and there is no such thing as them being cured, right? Yes, a narcissist could change their ways, but it would take a lot of work and they would have to become very highly self-aware. It is one of the most difficult personality disorders to treat. For that reason, oftentimes the recommended course of action, if you do find yourself in relationship with a narcissist, you may have to leave that relationship because they tend to become very abusive relationships. If you imagine what it's like to be in a relationship with someone who has no care or concern for you, it can get pretty dark. So oftentimes that is the recommendation. If someone is going to stay with a narcissist who is usually not even interested in working on themselves, what I recommend and what I've been teaching my clients is you can make anything work, but you're going to have to be prayed up and ready, right? And so what I tell them is don't act like you're living with a kitty cat when you're in the house with a lion. You've got to prepare yourself. You're living with a lion. What do you do to protect yourself? Those are the types of things you would be looking at. Okay, so I'm going to go over a couple of the features or traits that we look for or that are assigned clinically for narcissism. So here's a professional, right? And then we'll see another clip and then I'll share a few petties. So what you're probably doing, sometimes when I read these, most people are going to think, am I a narcissist? That sounds like things that I sometimes do. And that does not make you a narcissist. In fact, if you are thinking, am I a narcissist? That is the number one sign you're likely not. That type of self-awareness is not typical for narcissists. But with these things that I'm going to read to you here, we're looking for a pervasive pattern of behavior across their lifespan. Any one of us can show some of these behaviors, either if we're in times of great distress, maybe when we were younger or less mature, maybe even sometimes depending on the environment we're in. But again, we're looking for a pervasive pattern, right? This is continued and persisted throughout their lifespan. So in order to diagnose someone with narcissistic personality disorder, they must have at least 5 or more of the following. 1, a grandiose sense of self-importance. They exaggerate their achievements and talents and expect to be recognized often as superior. All right, that's 1. Again, you only have to have 5 of these. 2, they're preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. 3, they believe that they are special and unique and can only be understood by or should only associate with other special or high status people. 4, they require excessive admiration. 5, they have a sense of entitlement. For example, unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment, or that others should automatically comply with their wishes or expectations. 6, they can be interpersonally exploitative. That just means use or take advantage of. It says here they take advantage of others to achieve their own ends, means, or goals. 7, they lack empathy. They are unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. 8, often envious of others or believe that others are envious of them. And number 9, they show arrogant, haughty behaviors or attitudes. We got to see a little bit of that with Chris when he was kind of laughing, when he was like, this has been incredibly hurtful for your wife. And he, can you see how this is not your finest hour? And he was kind of like, that's the kind of, sometimes they call it a narcissistic slip. It's when the mask falls off, because they will mask to most of the world like they are this great person, this super person, but sometimes the mask slips, as they say. So as we begin to round out today's show, we're going to see just one more clip from the season with Chris and Paige, and then I'll wrap us up.
I have to say to Chris about your relationship between the two of you?
Well, I would say to Chris that my intentions in my relationship has always been to be a spiritual mentor to him, somebody to give him guidance. And I think I pulled back from you when I did not feel like you were receiving, and so I just kind of kept it to myself. If someone doesn't have time to receive what I'm saying to them, then I'm not going to waste time. But to you, Chris, regardless of this, I have always told you that I love you and that I always wish the best for you.
Chris, how do you feel about what he just said?
You want honesty or you want me to be fake?
No, I want you to be 100% honest.
It's a bunch of BS to me. I consider him a friend and a brother, not a mentor. And if you're going to have a conversation with somebody's wife, you have a conversation with the person that introduced you to the wife. It's inappropriate. I stand by that. My main problem was he was comparing Paige and Mercedes, and I felt like he was tearing Mercedes down. He was diminishing the value of Mercedes to build up Paige.
Chris, we've just finished talking for a lengthy time about how you diminish Paige. So why can't you forgive him for maybe saying something you didn't like?
At that particular moment, that's how I felt at that moment. But we haven't had a conversation. Just because he's sitting here on camera don't mean that, you know, it's all good. I'm not going to be fake about that. And I'm not going to mend anything today. Simple as that.
Paige, what do you think about this?
It breaks my spirit because they've known each other way longer than I've known either one of them. And I don't think that this should be a divide in y'all's friendship. He does care about you. He loves you. And, you know, Pastor DeWright reached out with pure and good intentions. And I definitely consider him to be like a spiritual advisor.
Can I say something, Kevin?
Yes, please.
My main concern is both of them as a couple. If me and Chris don't mend anything today, that's fine. He knows I love him. However, Chris does not like correction.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
And when I corrected Chris,
that's bullshit. We should have had conversations about that off camera.
He has no.
Not on camera. You're not finna do that. You're not my spiritual covering.
I understand it, but on this show, what you won't do is disrespect.
You're not gonna disrespect me.
On this show, what
you're not gonna disrespect me. They brought you out to come talk to me. I didn't come talk to you. I don't have nothing to say to you.
Well, let me talk to
Chris.
I
I don't have nothing to say to him.
Hold
Talk
on
about
for a
correction. What the
Hold on for a
fuck you
second.
mean correction?
Chris, hold on for a second. Stop. Gather yourself and take a deep
This is an off-the-camera
breath.
conversation.
I need you to calm down for 1 second.
I'm gonna do that for you, Kevin.
I will say this,
you,
we've
Kevin.
had a beautiful conversation. We've worked through all these things. You have handled yourself in a dignified and graceful manner today.
Because this is
I
bull.
want you to stop. I don't want you to stop.
Okay.
I want you to continue
For
that.
you, Kevin. It's for you, Kevin.
Don't let the anger eat you up. He is here as help, not as an adversary.
And with all due respect,
I'll take the help of Pastor Cal, but Pastor Dwight, I ain't got nothing for him.
That's absolutely fine. The nature of what I'm called to do as a pastor, it is my job.
You wasn't
Chris,
on
hold
here as a
on.
pastor.
Chris,
you was as a friend.
Chris,
You gonna let me talk?
No, 'cause I'm saying what I said.
You gonna let me talk?
You want to talk? You want to come on camera and talk? Well, let's talk then.
Paige,
I'm
ask
saying
him to
what I
stop,
had to
please.
say because
Just
you
tell
ain't
him to
jumped
stop
out.
for a
He's
second.
not gonna let me talk.
I ain't give a f*** to hear
Handle
what you got to
yourself.
say.
Chris, just stop for a second. Stop for a second, okay? Go ahead, Pastor Dwight.
Chris, I understand he wants me to have gone through him and that things, but I didn't have time to go through him.
And that's why
I wanted to go
don't
to
give
the.
a f- hear what he
I
got
want.
to
I
say.
want. Listen, now you gonna stop
Chris.
cussing at me.
Hey, we can get it cracking, bro.
I'm
I
not
swear to
fucking-
God, bro.
I'm
I swear to
Chris.
God. I don't give a f- bro.
I'm not.
Chris.
We can get it cracking, bro. I swear.
Chris,
I swear
I can't believe it.
bro.
Chris,
I can't.
I'm not here to.
Chris,
I'm
why are
just
you
saying.
doing
I'm
this
just
right
saying,
now?
bro.
I'm not here to.
You're
Chris,
not
why
gonna
are
do
you
that,
right now?
bro.
Chris, we're gonna take a break. We're gonna take a break. I want you to take. Chris, hold on,
I'm
Chris.
scared of you, dog.
Chris,
Disrespectful ass. Man, you. If you got an issue, come to the parking lot.
Paige, and Pastor, just wait a second. Let him have a moment.
If you got a problem, you come to the parking lot right now.
Chris, Chris,
What is going on?
Chris, Pastor Dwight. Oh my God.
Right, man, right? So again, this is when he received correction. What was displayed there, if Chris is indeed a narcissist, is something that is called the narcissistic rage. And it's when they lash out, when they're very angry with you, it could be very scary. And what's interesting is Pastor Dwight was his childhood friend, but he, fell out with him over the course of the season because Pastor Dwight mentioned about how harmful his behavior was and the way that he was playing with Paige, his wife's heart, and things like that. So it was a very interesting season. If you think you are in a relationship with a narcissist, it's a great episode to watch. Sometimes we can see patterns in others that we can't see in ourselves, in our own relationships, I'm saying. If you have questions about narcissism or anything like that, please feel free to direct message me and I would be happy to work with you, because this is a very serious mental health issue, but there is hope, right? And from a prophetic lens, some people even say that narcissism and some of those personality pieces can be the spirit of Jezebel or things like that. So some, even from a prophetic lens, you might want to look at deliverance and prayer and fasting, but definitely get help from all avenues, because nothing is impossible with God. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Love you much.